Thacher Island is an island off the coast of Rockport, Massachusetts. It is home to the only twin operating lighthouses in America. The lighthouses were the 12th and last built under British rule in 1771. They are known as the North and South Towers. The lighthouses took 2.5 years to build, and they indicate an unsafe harbor. Thacher Island was first sighted by Samuel de Champlain. He was a French navigator who sailed around Massachusetts. He named the surrounding areas Cap aux Isles, which means Cape with Isles. It was sighted again in 1614 by John Smith. He is an English soldier and mapmaker. He explored New England in 1614 and made maps. He spotted Thacher Island along with Straitsmouth Island and Milk Island. He named the 3 islands the 3 Turks' Heads. He is known as the Admiral of New England. Thacher Island was spotted again by Anthony and Elizabeth Thacher in 1635, when their boat was wrecked in a storm. They were on a vessel called the Watch and Wait, headed from Ipswich to Marblehead. In the wreck, their 4 children died. To compensate for their losses, the General Court bestowed the island onto the Thachers. It was originally supposed to be called Thacher's Well. It remained in the Thacher family for 80 years, until the Thachers sold it at about 1710. They exchanged hands numerous times, until in 1790 the Massachusetts colonial government bought it back for £500. The North Tower is managed by the Town of Rockport and the Thacher Island Association. It is owned by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. In 1932, Franklin Roosevelt shut down the North Tower to save money. It remained unlit until 1989 when the Town of Rockport took it over. A courtesy light was placed in to honor the mariners. The South Tower is owned and managed by the Coast Guard. Together, the lighthouses show dangerous spots and unsafe harbors. The twin lighthouses are a navigational tool that aids safe passage. The towers were located approximately 300 yards apart in exact north-south line, enabling mariners to use them as range lights to determine the ship's exact course. Originally, the lighthouses were run by a submarine cable used to deliver power. The cables would constantly wear out because of the continuous wear and tear and needed to be replaced. This cost too much money. The lighthouses now run on solar power. It was installed by girls from Tufts University. They also include backup generators in order to keep the lighthouses running on rainy days. The perfect storm was a 3-day hurricane which lasted from October 30th, 1991 to November 2nd, 1991. It is referred to as the Halloween storm. During the perfect storm, both the waves and the tide were a record high. Towns were flooded all over the East Coast.
The water was so high that it actually split the island in half. So the North Tower was sitting by itself. There was a stream running right across the entire island. It's actually split the island in half. And where the 2 keepers' houses are, and where these keepers were living at the time, there's like a swale, like a low part of land there right next to the house, and that filled up with water.
After the perfect storm, the island was shut down for 10 years because the ramp was destroyed and there was no money to fix it. During those 10 years, the seagull population exploded. They began to drive out other native species. The National Wildlife Refuge was established in 1972 to try to minimize the seagull population. The refuge occupies the northern part of the island. In an effort to minimize the seagull population, the refuge started to poke holes in eggs. Their efforts have been successful, and there are less seagulls on the island, scaring off other native species. The foghorn uses the density of the air to know when to blow its horn. In the earlier times, it was a steam-driven whistle. Keepers would have to bring coal to fuel the horn. The foghorn saved the lives of numerous people, including a president.
It was in 1919, the Treaty of Versailles had just been signed, ending the World War I in Europe. Wilson and his entourage were on a ship named the George Washington, and it was coming from France back to New York. In the fog one evening, as the ship approached, the keeper, Maurice Babcock, was in one of the towers, and he saw the ship approaching, and even though the fog was there, the foghorn was on, it kept approaching, and he didn't feel as though the ship actually heard the foghorn, so he went down to the whistle house of the fog signal building, turned on the horn, and made it run much louder and faster to attract their attention. And at the very last minute, the captain of the ship veered away from the island and missed the island. There's a photograph of Woodrow Wilson on deck in New York Harbor. And next to him is a guy you can't tell who it is, but I happen to know. It was another president, or future president. It was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who at the time was Assistant Secretary of the Navy before he became president. Babcock ended up saving two presidents at once, Woodrow Wilson and a future president.
The Londoner is also a key element in protecting others. The Londoner indicates a submerged reef. It is called the Londoner because ships coming to North America from London would constantly get stuck in the submerged reef. It shows ships that pass will be caught in the reef. With the installation of both the Londoner and the twin lighthouses, the water of the Atlantic Ocean has become much safer. With the installation of the foghorn, the Londoner, and the twin lighthouses, the waters of the Atlantic Ocean have become much more predictable. Before the warnings, no fewer than 70,000 ships passed Thacher unscathed.